All right, thank you for joining me. Do a couple of hitches here. I'm at Camp X. Camp X is a location in the woods. Do all sorts of fun bushcraft stuff. We actually built a wiki up not too long ago. I'm going to have a video on that whole amazing process, and where you're looking right now is actually inside a sort of a kitchen area. I'll tell you what, we'll do a little bit of a tour here. Take this out. So we're thinking of making this into sort of like kitchen area stand where there's, I'm going to build a table there, something like that. Got a cool little bench there, bench on the other side, sort of picture picnic table-ish. Some sort of makeshift roof system there. Believe it or not, underneath here is a Dakota fire pit, somewhere under there. Obviously a tripod for cooking over top of. This was fun. I got an old video on this, making this bench system. And way down that path, we had an old cedar stump. We made kind of a washroom facility. It's down there. I'm not going to go down there to show you that. We've got a wiki up here. This is an old construction tarp. And you know what? Let me give you the tour inside there real quick. Inside the wiki up. Thinking about building a door system there. Something. Trying to figure out to contend with the best way to kind of close it up. It's not complete. It's sort of a work in process. Oh, here's another bench that we made, actually. Right there. We've got a fire pit. We do have this beam. That was the last thing me and Doug did when we got here. So we got this beam up. We're thinking to affix the stovepipe to that beam and somehow focus it to go outside. And we have a secondary tarp to kind of block the wind. We've got a third tarp here. See, obviously the white tarp is on the outside, and this other green-brown tarp gives us a nice little, I guess convection would be the right word for the airflow. When we have a fire that is burnt inside here, fire goes up, and that cold air gets warmer and warmer and warmer, hotter, hotter, brings air from the outside, flies right up to the top. And I think, we'll say 18 feet, we measured it for the height of it, and the diameter was 12 feet diameter, just to give you some insight. So, not going to be a long video. I wanted to go over some hitches with respect to a preparedness challenge I had about a month ago. I was going to show the logistics or the practicality with respect to those hitches. So that is our absolutely wonderful view here at Camp X. Real quiet, real secluded. Just how I like it. All right, so these beams seem to be the most practical to do this test with, so that's what we're going to use. This beam right here. I'm sure some of you or most of you have probably heard of 550 paracord. There are some cheap Chinese counterfeits, I guess we'll say. They don't feel the same. I guess in theory they do work. They won't have the 7 strands. That's what the paracord is known for. They've actually got other types of paracord as well that have, in lieu of 7 strands, they'll have some sort of fiber, natural fiber in there for fire starting. There's another one called, I forget the name of it. It's beyond me. It's impregnated with wax. You can shave away it, and it's excellent for fire starting. There are some glow-in-the-dark paracords out there. They're terrible. Don't use them. For my purposes, even with respect to your tarps, I'm actually thinking about downgrading just for size and weight. Yes, it means that much. With my tarp, most of the time it's going to be some sort of A-frame. It's going to have 4 points on it. So I don't need 550 heavy-duty paracord for setting up my tarps. I don't need that much strength, that much weight. Yes, believe it or not, weight does add up. I know guys that literally shave down their toothbrush to save weight. So for my purposes, for the 4 corners, I can deal with something like this. I got this at the outdoor show. It's bright. And again, it depends on your situation. If you're looking for more of a, what's the best way to put it? To be covert in your situation, to be covert with respect, you know, you don't want to be seen, then you may not want to be having bright yellow as your paracord. I could always rub this with dirt, though, if I want it to be quote-unquote hidden. But for my purposes, going to the outdoor gatherings and places like that, people are often walking into your paracord. Sometimes you'll get like the hunter tape and you'll tie off the, you know, halfway down so people can see it so they don't trip over it. This is thin enough. It's going to work. It's going to hold up against the wind for my purposes. Now, let me grab, oh, another type too is actually really, really good, is this reflective type. This is unfortunately, it's worn down a bit. I'm trying to get some better light here. It's worn down, but you can actually get reflective paracord. And what happens is once a flashlight, any sort of lights, like a headlamp or something like that from anybody walking around, once it hits this, it shines right up. Kind of like those reflective vests that you see with joggers and whatnot. Unfortunately, though, this one in particular is, it's just worn. It's just gotten dirty over time, so tying them up, that's a whole other science. When I used to do tarps way back in the day, it was a pain. I never enjoyed it. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about knots. I didn't know anything about hitches. And I'd be that guy at the campsite. And you go like this. You go like this. You wrap it around. And in your mind, in your head, you think, okay, the more times I wrap around the tree, that's going to hold. And you learn. After time, you learn. You know, so I guess we'll use this one as the sample. There were 3 hitches in the preparedness challenge that I presented to my network about a month ago or so, and I'm going to release a video on that tomorrow. So this is sort of an elaboration on that challenge. The first one, this is called a tumble hitch. If you have a pen and paper, you may want to write this down. This is one I probably use more frequently than any other. Well, it's not a knot, it's a hitch. These are all hitches, actually, but we'll just call it knots for simplicity's sake. More than any other knot than anything else. And this is like, I've got a tree, I want to fix something here. You know, maybe I gotta put a line here. I gotta hang up my gear to dry. Maybe this is gonna be my ridge line for my A-frame. There's just any number of reasons. I just need to tie something here. I've got a post, I want to tie something here. So the tumble hitch is the way to go. And I'll explain why in just a second. It's very simple once you know it. It's basically, we're not going to go through the terminology with respect to the working line, main line, bites and whatnot, but it's basically a bite within a bite within a bite. And once you know it, you can do it blindfolded. The only trick with it is you have to keep a bit of tension on it. The reason I like this hitch a lot, aside from the fact, okay, you got to keep tension on it, but when you're dealing with hitches and notches, you're not just going to tie one up and go have a coffee or go to use the washroom. You're going to do your progression. You're going to set up whatever it is you need to set up. So I'm probably going to have tension on this and tie this on the other side and do whatever it is that I'm doing. The reason I like this is this very, very, very convenient, simple feature, which is a quick release. You yank that, it's done. No mess, no fuss, you know, like the Swiffer or whatever mop commercial that you're dealing with. There's nothing to contend with. Very, very simple. Simple to put together. Done. Done. One thing you're going to see similarly with the other hitches that I show you is this one feature. We've got a loop here. There's a loop here. And when I pull that, you'll see that loop gets smaller and smaller and smaller. I'm not giving you the finger right now. This is a demonstration. So one thing we can do to alleviate the fact that, or to contend with that fact, is actually put a stick in between it. And what Doug would say, so that way it's not going to accidentally come apart. You put a stick there. Doug used to say when he was teaching the scouts that, you know, you've got your knots set up and the scouts would come by and just, you know, pull them all apart. So put a little stick in there if you want it to be secure. I'm going to do, that was called a tumble hitch. I'm going to do one over here to show you the second hitch that I was referring to. So got my tumble hitch, and let's just say I want to dry off some gear. That's it. So I just want a line. Just want a line. That's it. I just want one line to go here. Put my mittens here. Put my whatever here. Blah, 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 blah. In the Scout manual, And in, I should have got some shorter cordage to play with. Actually, I think I will. I'm going to grab a smaller piece, so I'll explain this. In the Scout Manual, they will talk about a hitch called the taut line hitch. In other preparedness videos that talk about knots, hitches, they'll say this is the #1 hitch, the taut line hitch. They'll recommend the taut line hitch. They'll go on and on and on about the taut line hitch. They love the taut line hitch. I don't. There's a more efficient, effective way to regulate the length of paracord that is more practical than a taut line hitch, which I'm going to show you right now. But before, maybe I will show you the taut line hitch first. Like I said, this was the Scout. There we go. Look at that. Perfect length. Perfect length. This is the taut line hitch. If you have problems remembering knots, hitches, whatever, I do. I don't have a great memory. I do like a rhyme. So in this case, taut line hitch is 1, 2 underneath Q. So it's 1, 2 underneath Q. And of course, I think I got it wrong. Maybe I'm probably better from the other side. Sometimes when you do hitches, you only remember them if the rope goes on a certain side or if you're on a certain angle with them. And I forget my taut line hitch. That's okay. All right, I'm gonna let it go. That's why it's live. I totally forget my taut line hitch. I thought it was 1, 2. Somebody's probably screaming at me. Say it's done this way. Okay, I'm not even gonna try. It's been so long since I've done one. Taut line hitch generally would regulate the length of whatever it is that you're trying to tie down. So like a tarp, as an example, the end of a tarp. So this is what I use instead. This is called the Fairmont Friction. This one I know blindfolded. It's funny, I can't remember taut line. So just like a taut line, I can adjust the length of my cordage. So this is the sort of thing you would do when you're doing the 4 ends of your tarp, and maybe this end has to go a little bit looser, then you got to go to the other end, that's going to go a little tighter. This goes over here, that goes over there. You go around all 4 corners and you do what you have to do. So similar concept with the loop here. Once you pull that, it's going to come apart. This is what makes it advantageous, more beneficial. More beneficial as opposed to taut line hitch is quick release. It's done. It's simple. Taut line hitch, you have to contend with actually undoing the knot. And if I could remember how to do it again, I can't remember how to do it. The taut line. I know it's like a really, really ridiculously simple knot, but I'd have to contend with actually taking apart the taut line hitch, where the Fairmont Friction is the exact same action. However, it's got the advantage of a quick release. So that is the second one I would recommend. And ironically, though, too, Fairmont Friction is a relatively new hitch. So there we go. And one thing that I saw with the guys that did the preparedness challenge with the Fairmont Friction is the struggle. There we go. Quick release. Done. Boom. Gotta go. Take it out. Pull the string. Gone. It's a little bit of a tricky hitch to do in that you've got to get it snug. So I'll leave it to you guys to actually Google what's involved with putting it together. But the trick, I find, is to keep this all nice and close together. And when you're pulling it snug, this string here, this is called a bight. It's a loose end. So if I pull this side, that's going to do nothing. It's just going to pull that other piece through. You got to pull this side and kind of like jimmy it together. It's one of these things you'll just get practice at getting used to doing. That's what it is. That's it. Boom. That's it. Nice. Okay, we got a comment here. Used to be a BDSM instructor. Okay. I guess. No. We actually had a guy. We did this thing called Ninja Palooza years ago. And there was a guy there from BDSM, and he was doing all sorts of like weird knots for tying people up, and it was interesting to say the least. The third hitch that I talked about with the group was something called the trucker's hitch. There's a lot of variations of this hitch. There's a lot. And the one that I'm primarily used to is I'm not even going to bother trying to go through the logic of making you understand what the processes are involved, because it is tricky to do. But it's got some amazing advantages if you can figure it out. Not if, when you do. Because what it basically does is it gives you a mechanical advantage. This is the trucker's hitch. This is about 80% complete. I've got a pulley system here now. So when I yank this, I can get it extremely tight. Touch there. Put my bite through the loop. Done. Same thing, put a little stick there if I don't want anybody pulling this, because again, with the tumble hitch, with the Fairmont friction, and with the trucker's hitch, what makes them beautiful and simplistic is quick release. You're not playing with things. You know, once you get, it's just like anything with practice. You can do it blindfolded. You don't think about it, you put it together, and they're effective knots, or in this case, they're effective hitches. So the ideal situation with a trucker's hitch would be for your ridge line, your main ridge line across your A-frame, because you're not depending on a 1-to-1 ratio, yanking the crap out of your main line, your ridge line, to get it super taut, because you're going to have your tarp over top and you're going to have all sorts of pressure, wind, contending. You want that thing to be tight. So this has to be extremely tight. And the advantage with a trucker's hitch is the fact that you can get this to be extremely tight, and you've got the quick release factor. So there are a couple different variations. I'd play with them. The one Phil was showing me the other day is you go like this, and I think this is the one that he showed me. I'm going to stick with this one. So it's basically, I've got a clove hitch, and then I put a bite into the clove hitch. There, I've got my pulley system established there. Keep tension here, go around, go through. Now I've got my pulley system, pull until I'm content with wherever I need to be. Pinch it off, put it through, done. When I'm ready, pull it, yank it, bingo bango bobble. And then when I'm done over here, grab my tumble hitch and pull. It just comes right apart. So very efficient, very effective. And these are some hitches or some knots that I might use for, you know, my A-frame. I might end up using for other various shelter systems or tarp systems. These are the go-to. These are the best ones. Like I was saying, the benefit with a Fairmont friction over a top surpass a top line hitch, which most preparedness channels will tell you, is the fact that you've got this quick release. Quick release, what that means is you're saving time because you're being quicker. So that's it. Just a quick video out of Camp X. Just joining me. I tie up my paracord here. A question or two for anybody that is willing to entertain me here. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully that was informative, and that was cool. That was cool. Want to do something quick out in the bush here. Test out my new camera. Just check the quality with respect to the videotaping out here and the internet connection and so forth. So if you have a question for me, feel free to ask in all caps. And if not, I'll tie up my paracord and leave. Creative redundancy. You still need to learn the trucker's hitch. Yeah, you still do, but that's fine. So creative redundancy was actually one of the people that took part of the challenge. You needed 2 out of the 3, and to me that was good enough. You know, if that's all you could do within that period of time, it's the fact they actually took the steps to do something, which made it really, really cool. So hopefully that was some practicality with how you can apply it. And like I was saying, when I set up my A-frame, it's not, well, maybe I'll do this one or maybe I'll do that one. No, it's always tumble hitch for your ridge line to a trucker's hitch, then a tumble hitch on each 4 corners of your tarp, going down to a Fairmont friction. So I can do those adjustments every single time because they are the most efficient hitches for that sort of setup. Most of the time, if you're doing any of this sort of preparedness stuff out in the woods or survival or bushcraft, primitive skills, whatever, you're probably going to have a tarp set up. Probably. So it makes sense to know the most efficient and most effective knots, hitches for that purpose. So that was the primary rationality I had with respect to saying, okay, learn these 3 hitches as per the last preparedness challenge. So I'm probably going to do that in the future. Even taking the time to wrap them up properly is also good. Weather looks great. Oh, it's zoomed out here. I only got like half a second for these comments before they disappear. So I've got to figure out. Weather looks good. Lion's Head, freezing rain, crazy. Okay, thanks for the weather updates. Is that sweater made from woven belly button lint? Ha ha ha. No, it's not. I think I got this at the. Well, most sweaters will get from the, like the Value Village or the Salvation Army because they're cheap. You know, so this is wool. They're always wool. And they're ridiculously cheap. They're always ridiculously cheap. That's the way to go. So if they get singed with you out here making a fire and whatnot, then it doesn't matter if they get singed. We will be coming to Arizona survival practice. Yuma here. Okay, didn't get that. Billy Bird is trolling, by the way. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Billy Bird. No, it's not made from belly button lint. I don't understand the Arizona question. So I'm not seeing anything here. I didn't get the memo when you were going live. Well, sorry. I'll send out a text to everybody next time. I'm at El Paso, Suzo. Okay, I think there's some redundancy here with a lack of intelligent questions with respect to what I presented. So thank you very much. There's our wiki up. I'm going to continue working on it. This is the first live filming at Camp X, so this is kind of cool. Kind of cool. Another beautiful day in Canada. Thank you to everybody that joined me, and I will talk to you guys down the road very soon.